Hello friends, welcome back to the true story on our channel Crime Chronicles US, where America's unsolved mysteries, vanished criminals, and chilling cases come alive. Every story is real, every detail matters, and the truth remains buried in the shadows. Don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to stay updated with every mystery. Imagine a city that never sleeps, where headlights smear across rain-slick streets like glowing brushstrokes on black glass, where taxis hum like restless bees moving secrets from one corner to the next. Let your mind settle into that night. Slow your breathing. Let the city sounds fade into a distant murmur, because this story unfolds like a quiet whisper creeping down an empty hallway. Somewhere in that city, a man sits behind a steering wheel, calm, controlled, his voice soft, reassuring, almost comforting. The world around him trusts easily. The mind of a stranger relaxes in the safety of motion, the illusion of being carried home, the gentle rhythm of tires over asphalt. And in that moment, the story begins. Not with noise, not with violence, but with silence, with trust, with the subtle lowering of defenses that happens when we think we are safe. This man's name will later be known across headlines and courtrooms, but at the beginning, he is just another driver, another face among thousands. His name is John Worboys, a quiet figure blending into the night, presenting himself as polite, professional, almost forgettable. And that forgettability is part of the design. Because some dangers do not roar. Some dangers whisper. They speak softly. They smile politely. They appear helpful. They appear harmless. The mind relaxes around them. The body loosens. The attention drifts. And in that drifting moment, control subtly changes hands. Picture a young woman stepping into a taxi after a long evening. She is tired. She wants to go home. She trusts the routine. She trusts the uniform. She trusts the locked doors and the dashboard lights and the familiar sound of a meter ticking. Her phone glows in her palm. She gives an address. The car pulls away. Nothing seems unusual. Nothing feels threatening. And that is precisely the point where the trap is invisible. Not sprung by force, not by shouting, but by patience, planning, and deception. John Worboys' story is not one of sudden madness or explosive violence. It is a story of calculated manipulation, of rehearsed calm, of a predator who learned that power is easiest when the other person never realizes they are in danger until it is too late. He understood that fear can be delayed, postponed, hidden behind a friendly voice and a steady hand on the wheel. He understood how to build a false sense of safety, how to make a stranger feel at ease, how to appear trustworthy. And once trust was established, he used it like a key to a locked door. Let your mind drift deeper into this narrative, not to celebrate it, but to understand how such darkness can hide in plain sight. Because the city is full of people passing each other, thousands of brief encounters, faces we never remember, voices we never hear again. Most are harmless, but sometimes, among the ordinary, stands someone who sees opportunity where others see routine. Someone who studies behavior, timing, vulnerability. Someone who notices when a person is alone, when they are tired, when they are distracted, when they are more likely to trust without question. And that someone waits. Over time, patterns emerged. Late-night rides, isolated routes, passengers who felt safe until something shifted, subtly, quietly, unnaturally. Later, memories would be foggy, fragmented, confused. Doubt would creep in. Did something happen? Was it real? Was it imagined? And in that confusion, the predator hides even further, protected by uncertainty and disbelief. Because when harm is quiet, when there are no witnesses, when memory is blurred, the truth becomes slippery. Investigators would later describe a long period where reports surfaced slowly, inconsistently, like puzzle pieces scattered across a table. Different victims, similar experiences, similar descriptions. A polite driver, a calm voice, a drink offered, a sudden loss of awareness, and later, the heavy realization that something terrible had occurred. But early on, no one saw the full picture. Just isolated stories floating in the vast noise of a busy city. And so the pattern continued. Night after night, ride after ride, trust exploited again and again. Not by brute force in a dark alley, but by a man behind a wheel, in a vehicle licensed to protect, to deliver, to serve. That is what made it so difficult to detect. Because society is built on small contracts of trust. We trust drivers. We trust uniforms. We trust procedures. And when that trust is violated, the mind resists believing it. The brain says, this cannot be true. This must be a misunderstanding. This must be rare. And that denial becomes another shield around the perpetrator. Slowly, however, awareness grew. Victims came forward. Courage gathered. Patterns became clearer. Investigators began connecting the dots. The invisible line between isolated incidents became visible. A name surfaced, a face, a license plate, and the quiet predator who had thrived in anonymity began to feel the light turning toward him. But before that reckoning, there was a long stretch of time where he moved freely, unchallenged, shielded by disbelief and bureaucracy. And this is the most haunting part of the story. Not that evil exists, but that it can operate in ordinary spaces through ordinary systems in ways so subtle that no alarms sound, no sirens, no screams. Only later, the realization. Only later, the grief. Only later, the shock that something so monstrous could happen in such an everyday setting. When the investigation finally tightened, when evidence began stacking, when testimony grew stronger, the illusion of safety shattered. The city realized that the danger had been sitting in plain sight, behind a steering wheel, wearing a professional mask, smiling politely in the rearview mirror. Courtrooms replaced streets. Records replaced anonymity. The name John Worboys moved from obscurity to infamy. And yet, even in court, the story remained complex, tangled in evidence, in memory, in trauma, in the challenge of proving crimes that left few physical traces, but deep psychological wounds. It became a reminder of how fragile justice can be when harm is quiet, when control is chemical, when fear is internalized. As the legal process unfolded, the public learned what many victims had carried alone for years. The betrayal, the shock, the disbelief, the anger, the sense that a routine moment of daily life could become a doorway into nightmare. And in hearing those stories, society was forced to confront uncomfortable questions. How well do we protect trust? How easily do we believe victims? How carefully do we monitor those who hold power over others, even small power, like controlling a vehicle, a route, a locked door? And as the case progressed, a broader truth emerged. Monsters do not always look monstrous. Sometimes they look helpful. Sometimes they sound gentle. Sometimes they operate within systems we rely on. And that realization lingers long after the court verdicts are read, long after prison doors close, long after headlines fade. So now let the rhythm of this story slow again. Feel the city breathing. Feel the hum of tires. Feel the moment when a passenger closes a door and trusts that they will arrive safely. That trust is real. That trust is necessary for society to function. And yet, in this story, that trust was exploited. Not once, not twice, but repeatedly over years. And then, almost without warning, the quiet pattern that had moved unnoticed through the city began to crack. A report here, another there. A detail repeated. A description matched. A voice remembered. A license number scribbled in shaking hands. The whispers that once floated alone began to form a chorus. Investigators leaned closer. Files were opened. Questions were asked. And slowly, like a curtain lifting on a dark stage, the outline of the truth came into focus. The man who had relied on invisibility was no longer invisible. The name John Worboys was written on paperwork, spoken in offices, passed between detectives who realized they were not looking at isolated incidents. They were looking at a system of harm built carefully over time. When the arrest finally came, it did not arrive with dramatic music or flashing heroism. It arrived with routine procedure, a knock on a door, a handcuff clicking shut. Yet in that small mechanical sound, years of suffering found acknowledgement. The city that once trusted him now recoiled. The uniform that once signaled safety now carried suspicion. The driver's seat that once hid him in plain sight became evidence. And in interview rooms and courtrooms, the calm voice that once reassured passengers now answered questions under scrutiny. The trial unfolded like a slow unveiling. Victims spoke, some with trembling voices, some with quiet strength, some reading statements through tears. Each story carried confusion, lost time, disbelief, and the crushing realization that what they once doubted was real. Piece by piece, the narrative became undeniable. Patterns were mapped, timelines aligned, and the mask that had been so carefully worn finally slipped away. Not through a single dramatic confession, but through the accumulation of truth that could no longer be ignored. Public reaction spread quickly. Headlines filled screens. News anchors spoke the name again and again. Viewers leaned closer, unsettled by the idea that danger had moved so smoothly through everyday life. People questioned their assumptions. People reconsidered trust. People realized that safety is not only about locked doors and streetlights, but about vigilance, accountability, and listening when someone says, "Something happened to me." And in that realization, the story reached beyond one man. It became a mirror held up to society itself. When sentencing came, it did not erase pain. It did not restore lost peace. But it drew a line. It declared that what had been hidden was now known. What had been doubted was now believed. What had been whispered was now recorded in the permanent language of justice. Prison doors closed, a chapter ended, but echoes remained. Because trauma does not disappear when a verdict is read. Healing takes time, trust takes time, and some nights, some passengers still glance at a rearview mirror with a brief, instinctive caution born from stories like this. And so the tale of John Worboys becomes more than a crime story. It becomes a lesson in how deception can wear familiar clothing, how predators can exploit routine, how silence can protect wrongdoing, and how courage, slow, uncertain, fragile courage, can eventually break even the strongest disguise. It teaches that listening matters, that believing matters, that patterns matter, that no system should be beyond question, that no uniform should be beyond scrutiny, that safety is not guaranteed. It is built, maintained, and defended. Now let the city return in your mind. The rain, the headlights, the taxis moving like silent vessels through the night. Let the hum soften. Let the story settle. Because somewhere, someone is stepping into a car, trusting they will arrive home. And because of stories like this, systems change. Checks improve. Awareness grows. And the night becomes, slowly, a little less dangerous than it once was. This is not the end of fear, but it is the end of ignorance, and that difference matters. So friends, if you enjoyed this video, then don't forget to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Crime Chronicles US for more chilling unsolved mysteries from across America. Stay curious, and we'll see you in the next story.